Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. In this video we're going to be talking about our electrical system and how we fit 12 kilowatts of power in a tiny 4 cubic feet enclosure. If you're new here, welcome to the channel. We've been building out this E350 composite camper van from the ground up for quite a while now. If you look back at our earlier videos, you can see us building the frame, the box, the pop top, and now we're getting to the fun part, the inside. So for our system, we have two 12-volt self-heated lithium batteries with a total capacity of 920 amp hours at 12 volts. We have 600 watts of solar above, 420 amps of alternator charging split between our main and secondary alternator, 3000 watt inverter, and 40 amp AC charger. We'll first go over what components we chose and how we made it so compact, including why you should have separate inverter and AC charger, avoiding an AC distribution panel, 3D printed fuse blocks, and more. So we started by taking our main electrical components and spreading them out on the table in order to figure out the most sensible layout. The problem we first ran into when trying to get this all as compact as possible is the main thing that's taking up space is your wiring between individual components. So for example, the Lynx distributor needs to be connected to the master switch, then to the master fuse, then to the battery. And between all of these, you would need thick 4-yacht cable, and you would connect one end to the switch and the other end to the distributor. What ends up happening is it's mostly a lug, a very tiny little section of wire, and then another lug, making it a pain to connect all these things together and taking up a lot of extra space. So now all these things that were really compact have to be spaced out a ton, and you've also added additional costs in wiring and lugs. The other option is you can get these little copper connectors or even just buy a bar of tin copper like this off of Amazon. Let's say we're now trying to connect these same components together. We can just run a bar bolted between them. While this works great for the negative terminal, it's really not great practice to have exposed leads on the positive side. So what we did instead is we came up with a system of components that could bolt together directly. Instead of having to connect each of these with an intermediate wire or copper bar, you can directly connect a lot of these components to each other, which takes up a lot less space and you don't have any exposed positive leads. The complication with this is a lot of these components are at different heights, such as the Victron shunt. So if you were to actually mount this, you need to either raise the Lynx distributor up or lower the shunt down. This switch and main fuse holder are by the same company and are designed to mount together, so they're at the exact same height. And then in order to make them the same height as the Lynx distributor, you need to add some tiny little washers under them. It's also important that if you're going to add washers to change the connection height, make sure you're putting those washers under the entire unit instead of putting them between connection points. Otherwise, you'll create a lot of resistance, compromising the electrical flow. The other really cool thing about this switch is, unlike most switches where the studs are mounted to the back of the switch and you have to flip it over to access them, this one is two parts. So you can instead take off the switch cover and have easy access to your studs, which makes wiring really easy and again, more compact. If you're interested in either of these, we have both of them linked in the description below. The last thing I want to mention is that our Lynx distributor only has 4 available fuse terminals, and we needed a lot more than this. Our solution to this was a 3D printed fuse block extension. How this works is you have these extension points on the end of the Lynx distributor that are intended to allow you to daisy chain another unit. Instead, we connected our own tinned copper bars, which became the main bars for our 3D printed fuse block. It extends both the positive and negative leads, giving you 4 grounding terminals and 4 fuse spots for mini A and L fuses. The cover we made to this then provides a physical barrier between each of the fuse terminals. One thing I will say is that the Lynx distribution system is kind of expensive and bulky if you are not tying it into a Servo GX and using that functionality. Basically, the circuit board and extra features are not being used. We're just using these fuse connection points and the negative terminals, so I really don't know if I'd get this again. I'd try to find a version of this that doesn't have all the extra stuff and is hopefully more compact, but we already had it purchased, so we went with it. As you can see now, we now have 8 different positive leads, 9 negative leads, a Victron monitoring shunt, master switch, and a main fuse, and this entire thing measures only 20 by 7 inches, so it's crazy compact. Once we had these main components assembled together, we started thinking about the max size the electrical panel could be for our enclosure and how we would place these parts on it. This is the electrical panel we came up with. It is an ultralight plywood with a laminated hex veneer on it. Side note, we are planning to make an entire video dedicated to the different wood options and what you should use in a camper van, so subscribe if you're interested in that video. We first routed out this little section here for the shunt to fit in, so instead of having to raise everything, we essentially just lower this one piece. Also going on this board will be our DC distribution panel for all our smaller accessories, our solar charger, Orion DC to DC charger, secondary alternator charger, and our AC charger. The inverter does not fit on this panel and instead mounts to the side of the system. I 3D printed little templates and used a router to cut the slots. I then also 3D printed these little flexible TPU rubber grommets to give a soft edge to the wires to pass through. The idea is that the rest of the wires will go off the back edge. That way everything's nice and clean while still being accessible. So we want to go over with you guys some of the different things we did to keep our AC wiring compact and lightweight. We don't have an electrical AC distribution panel. So normally what happens is you send the power from the inverter to a distribution channel which has a bunch of breakers, and then from each of those breakers go out to your various outlets in the van. We really didn't have a need for a ton of outlets in a bunch of different places in the van. We have one in our counter in the front, and then we have one outside. That really, is going to handle most of our needs just fine. Now, the benefit of that is, you don't have this massive box you have to fit somewhere. You have to wire. AC wiring at, 120 volts or 240 if you're in Europe is also a lot more dangerous than 12 volt wiring. Being able to avoid, extra 120 volt wires is great. The reason why we can do this is because our inverter has a bunch of outlets on it. You can see already there is 2 outlets and then 1 hardwired plug. So we have more than enough already, and these are already GFCI protected, so we don't have to worry about any safety concerns, and we can just run all of our appliances directly to the inverter, saving space, time, wiring, cost, all the above. Most fans use a inverter charger combo, which combines the shore power and your inverter in one unit. We decided to do something a little bit different. We actually have 2 separate units for this. So we have our 3000 watt Renogy inverter here, and then a separate 40 amp battery charger. Now the main difference is let's say you're plugged into shore power and you're using one of your outlets in the van. With the inverter charger combo, what's essentially happening is the inverter is rerouting the shore power that you're plugged in directly to your outlets. With the way we have it set up, if we're plugged in for shore power, our battery charger is charging the batteries and our outlets are running off of our batteries. Now, the reason why we decided to do this was a couple things. First off, the combo of the charger and the inverter, as you see it here, 3000 watt inverter, 40 amp charger, weighs about 20 pounds. The equivalent Victron unit that I was just talking about, I think is about 40 pounds. Renogy also has a similar unit. We'll put up the weight on screen for that, but there's quite a big weight savings there. There's also definitely a big space savings. You can see, being able to have this be way slimmer and then have a separate charging unit over here kind of saves us a bunch of space. Shore power is something we wanted to have just in case, but with the way we travel, we really aren't going to ever use it ideally. We don't spend a lot of time with electrical hookups. I think if you're building a van and you do plan to do a lot of designated campgrounds where you have electrical hookups, I'd probably consider doing a bigger charger or a inverter charger combo. But having the 40 amp charger is just kind of enough battery charging where we're just giving a constant fill to our batteries. We're not going to deplete them like crazy if we're using the van while charging at the same time, but it's not a massive unit that takes up a bunch of space. So the biggest downsides of building a system that's this compact is heat management and serviceability. Serviceability was a big concern. We wanted all these components to be easy to replace. The way it's designed, the batteries can slide out of the bottom, and then all of these components on the top can easily be accessed by removing the slats of our bench, and then you can just, you can see easily remove each of these units. In terms of heat management, the good thing is not all of these things are going to be generating heat at the same time. For example, we're not going to be running the shore power while charging off the alternator. And if we're charging off the alternator, we don't need to be charging off the solar very much. The benefit of this is what I'm trying to get at is not all of these units are going to be generating heat at the same time, so we really don't have to plan around that. For heat management, we have a couple plans here. We're going to be running some active cooling via some thermostatically controlled fans, so we'll have some airflow going across this. On top of that, all of the panels on the side will have ventilation holes. We haven't done that yet, but that's one of the things we're going to do to manage the heat. The main heat concern is going to be when we're charging off the alternator. You don't see it here, but we have, I guess you can see one. We have the 50 amp Orion charger, and then this is going to be our external regulator for our secondary alternator, which can charge at up to 370 amp hours. That charging current is going to generate a ton of heat into the batteries and the distribution center. That's going to be our main heat source. We can't comment on how effective this whole dual alternator system is yet because we haven't finished installing it. As of now, our main charger is working great. It's not a ton of power, but once we have this 370 amps, we should be great. If you're interested in this install and kind of how we did this, let us know and we'd be happy to make a video on that. So for the batteries, we decided to do 2 of these 12 volt 460 amp hour batteries from Epic. The nice thing about these batteries, they are self-heated, so we don't have to worry about keeping them warm in the cold. We can make a whole separate video about this, but we decided to keep it 12 volt just to keep everything simple We could have saved a lot of weight with wiring size if we did 24 volt, but just the simplicity, keeping all of our devices 12 volt, really made things a lot easier. We went through a lot of different designs and a lot of iterations to come up with this. It was really not easy trying to get all of this power, this fast of charging, and all of our electrical components in such a compact space. We'd love to hear from you on your guys' electrical systems. If you have more power, the same amount of power in a smaller space, I would love to hear about it. As far as I know, this is kind of the most compact enclosure I've seen of any van I've watched. So if you have something more compact, I would love to see it and love to hear how you did it. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching, and we will see you in the next one.